That asteroid embedded in the ship, it has super ninja steel in it. And no, it doesn't. It has ninja super steel in it. And I hate the title. And I shouldn't be so loud. I apologize. Hello there, heroes. I'm the Orange Ranger. After a long off season of realizing just how much better of a Power Rangers show Hyperforce is, it's finally time to give Ninja Steel another chance to defend itself. That's right, the 25th season of Power Rangers has officially begun. I do realize that the off-season hiatus videos are not done yet. However, time waits for no Ranger, so here we go. And by the way, speaking of new things, you may have noticed that my setup is a little bit different. I've been doing some rearranging in my studio, aka my bedroom. I haven't quite figured out the best setup right now. I'm still working on things and researching options, so by all means, don't get used to this. This is just what we're going with for right now, and we'll see what happens. So, no early premiere, no 1,000 retweets, and we'll post the episode early online. We got 2 short preview clips from this episode, and now it's out for public consumption. So, heroes, let's take a look at the first episode of Power Rangers Super Ninja Steel, Echoes of Evil. You heroes might remember in my review of last season's finale that I said I was surprised the episode didn't end with the arrival of a certain someone. Well, that someone has arrived. The episode begins with the Sledge 1 emerging from a wormhole. Sledge has Wrench scan for the Energems, but he's not picking up any sort of signal from them. Poisandra confirms it. This means they've entered a different universe. Now, this is at least a step towards establishing Dino Charge's place in the continuity, but it's not a complete step. All this establishes at this point is that Ninja Steel and Dino Charge take place in 2 different universes. It does nothing to establish whether or not Ninja Steel itself is in the mainline continuity, or it takes place in an alternate universe, but I suppose we'll get to that as time goes on. And for any of you that are saying to themselves, Sledge, Wrench, Poisandra, weren't they all destroyed? Yes. Sort of. So this ship and crew were the ones that were sucked into the black hole before the Dino Charge Rangers went back in time and destroyed them. Of course, this also means that the Earth that was sucked into the black hole should have appeared right behind them, though I suppose that a planet just made of like rocks and water and stuff might have broken apart and dissipated in the black hole, while a ship would be made of sterner stuff. The best way I can try to help you understand if you're not really into science fiction and think about this all a lot is this. Go back in time mentally to Dino Supercharge's finale. The moment when the Sledge 1 entered the black hole, this is where it emerged in another universe. Now, the Dino Charge Rangers went back in time and prevented that from happening in their own universe, but this version of Sledge was protected by now being in an alternate universe. Yeah, I realize that probably doesn't help much. This is really complicated sci-fi stuff. Anyway, I'm about 6 paragraphs into this script and have covered about a minute or so of the episode, so let's try to get the ball rolling. Plot conveniently, they emerge right next to the wreckage of the Warrior Dome. Now, Sledge knows a good salvage opportunity when he sees one, but Wrench tells him it's even better than he thinks. That asteroid embedded in the ship contains Ninja Super Steel. I'm going to go ahead and get this complaint out of the way right now, especially since I just had a blooper where I mixed the 2 names up. I actually like calling the element Ninja Super Steel. I mean, as far as I can like it, it's kind of a silly name to begin with, Ninja Steel. But I like calling it Ninja Super Steel. It indicates that the steel is what is super and therefore different. I have a slightly easier time buying a super steel that is somehow imbued with the power of ninjas, as opposed to some kind of steel, regular steel, that is imbued with the power of super ninjas? But here's my primary complaint in all of this. If in this story you are going to call this element Ninja Super Steel, why is the show not called Ninja Super Steel? This is just 2 seasons after you had Dino Supercharge. Dang, this is going to be a long review if I keep going on tangents like this. I'm not entirely sure why these villains know what Ninja Super Steel is, but apparently it's quite valuable and they think it's going to make them all rich. Of course, there would be no guarantee that this universe, different from theirs, even contained the very concept of money, but I guess greed has always been their primary motivation. Sledge brings a team onto the ship consisting of himself, Wrench, a Q-liner from Tokuger, and no, I'm not kidding about that, and 2 prisoners. I don't really understand this decision by Sledge. Wouldn't you want to scout the ship first before risking bringing bounty prisoners onto it? I mean, they do establish that these prisoners are going to be the ones doing the work, but wouldn't you want a work crew bigger than 2 prisoners? Sledge looks around the ship with Xanabatar signs in his eyes when Odious and Cosmo pop out and say, "Hands off, buddy, this is our ship." That leads us into the intro sequence, and as per the usual, visual spoilers abound. I do like that now all 6 of the Rangers are introduced in a row, whereas last time that was broken up throughout the sequence. I think that flows a lot better. Mick's introduction shot is of him as a Red Ranger, which I think is a nice touch, even though, spoilers, by the end of this episode, Mick is not a Power Ranger. We get a very quick flash of a new cockpit mode. We see a set of primarily blue and orange new Zords, and in a shot where we see 5 different Megazords, 2 of them are brand new. One seems to be comprised of the blue and orange Zords, and the other seems to be the Ninja Steel Megazord riding a surfboard. Now, I will also take this moment here to remind you folks watching these reviews that while I have seen the Sentai and know what these things are, I review these episodes strictly as a Power Rangers fan, and I like to include fans who have not necessarily seen the Sentai. So I don't explicitly name out what these things were in the Sentai or what they might be in this Power Rangers season. I let that happen organically and react to it as it happens. Sledge calms the situation down, which I actually thought was a really nice indication that he's probably been in this situation before. "Listen, I saw your ship, it was wrecked by an asteroid, figured everybody abandoned ship, it was wrecked, I was just gonna come and salvage it, but it's okay, you're here, it's fine, it's fine." As a matter of fact, he proposes to Odious that they can help each other. He says that he'll fix up the Warrior Dome for the low, low price of that worthless asteroid. Odious asks him why he would want it. He just says that his wife Poisandra likes rocks. She's really into geology. She likes rocks. You know, I do suppose that that's true, actually. Poisandra does like rocks. Really valuable, shiny rocks. Odious goes along with this, which I found kind of unlikely for somebody as cunning as she is. Though I do suppose she was in a desperate situation. I mean, it's not like there are any comets coming by that she can track her onto. Plot convenience shows us why Sledge brought those 2 prisoners along when one of them, named Badana, begs Odious to take her with them and pledges her loyalty. Odious says that all of her underlings are loyal. Kind of a funny line coming from her, seeing as she herself was once a disloyal underling. So what makes Badana any different? She says prisoners overhear things, and says that she can tell Odious why Sledge wants the asteroid so much. Odious frees her, and she asks if Odious has ever heard of Ninja Super Steel. Sledge fixes up the Warrior Dome and leaves with the asteroid, with Poisandra declaring they'll be the richest couple in the galaxy. Remember that they are married now, by the way, in that continuity version of themselves. Anyway, Badana reveals to Odious that while Sledge was busy fixing the ship, she was able to extract the... You know what? I'm just going to call it Super Steel. That's much easier to say. By the by, as you kind of heard me reference just a moment ago, Badana has kind of a Russian-Ukrainian accent, which is something that I really like. It's a pretty unique accent to Power Rangers monsters. Come to think of it, she kind of sounds like the professor's wife. Anyway, Odious says that she was right to trust Badana. Boy, oh boy, doesn't that line just scream what goes around comes around in terms of betrayal? Meanwhile, the Rangers are boring. Oh, I'm sorry, I mean the Rangers are back to their boring lives, which are boring. Despite this being January, more on that in a second, this is apparently a brand new school year at Summer Cove, as Brody declares that summer was great, but now we're back to school. Dane drops his trophy back off in the trophy case and leaves, probably for the rest of the season until the finale. As the Rangers sit down to breakfast lunch, seriously, they walk in like they're just getting to school, talk about summer being over and now they're back at school, and then sit down to a meal of sandwiches, salads, and fruit. So a commercial comes on the nearby TV for Victor and Monty's monster repellent. Yes, heroes, all my nightmares have come true, as they are indeed following through on the subplot from the finale, and they have canned Monty's farts to make a monster repellent. Now, credit where credit is due. The commercial itself was actually kind of funny in that inexperienced actors, public access infomercial, Victor wearing grandmother drag kind of fashion. A funny thing about this scene is that the Rangers seem to get offended when Victor says the Power Rangers haven't been around. But you haven't, folks. No monsters either since Christmas, come to think of it, though I guess fear is a powerful motivator. The two salesmen make a grand entrance at the school, announcing that their newfound wealth means that they're going to be dropping out. The students around them all applaud, showing just how happy they'll be when the two of them are finally gone. I know I sure would be. However, the two of them want to give back to the school, though that charity must of course be tinged with self-service. They announce that they're donating $1 million to the school with the intention of building a brand new wing onto it. The Victor and Monty, though only Victor's name on the accompanying statue, Academy of Excellentarianism. And yes, by the by, as I just mentioned, they had a statue delivered to the school. At least I'm assuming they had it delivered. It was at the school before they showed up. Preston, and for the record, yes, it was weird seeing Peter acting as Preston again. Still far, far prefer him as Marv. Asks the two of them a question. Just how did they escape from those monsters? While I thought the obvious answer would have been the repellent, duh, we instead get a 2-minute flashback of the farting scene from the finale, because I'm telling you folks, that scene killed it with our focus group of 8-year-old boys. Brody gets a text message from Redbot calling the Rangers to the base. Yes, it seems that since they're not Rangers now, they no longer wear their ninja comms, which I suppose does make sense. Redbot has detected a ship on its way to Earth, and what's worse, something is teleporting directly to their coordinates. Oh my gosh, what possible thing could be invading the Rangers? It's Mick. Why would it not be Mick? Did Redbot not recognize the space taxi? Who else would know the coordinates of the Rangers' secret base? I mean, they actually used a commercial break to stretch out this false drama. However, Mick is not just paying the Rangers a social visit. He shows them kind of an announcement trailer that reveals that Galaxy Warriors is coming back. They have a brand new contestant, Smellephant, who Odious orders to sniff for the Ninja Nexus Prism. He smells that it's still on Earth, so they set course for the Milky Way galaxy to get back to Earth. And Smellephant smelled this across space, in which air does not easily move or exist. Rangers realize that Odious doesn't know that the prism is basically dead. If that asteroid did have Ninja Steel on it and Odious got it, she's on her way to Earth to try to use it in the Ninja Nexus prism. Levi thinks that they should hide the prism so Odious can't find it, but Brody has a different idea. Use it as bait to lure her out. You will notice that I said this was a different idea and not a better idea, because you don't have your powers. Why is luring a monster out a good idea? The Rangers move Victor's statue to the park and use it as a hiding spot for the prism, and to me, this is really the best part of the episode, although admittedly that's not saying much, as we see the Rangers acting like ninjas, moving in the shadows, being sneaky. Odious, Badana, and Smelliphant teleport down. However, the people of Summer Cove are no longer afraid of monsters, because they have monster repellent. They point it right at those monsters, spray them down, and they are utterly unaffected. I mean, it smells bad, sure, but it's either been watered down for mass production, or these are stronger monsters than Cosmo Royale. Either of those is an equal possibility, as Smelliphant just sucks in all of the fart gas, ew, and Badana blasts at the people. Wow, including that Victor and Monty fart repellent plot from the finale was so critical to this plot. Preston creates a magical cage. Hey, that's spell 27 in his book. And the Rangers move to attack. However, Odious stops the cage with magic, as Preston says that she stopped the cage with magic. She throws it back at them and then just moves on with her plan. She finds the prism and realizes that it's dead. That means the Rangers don't have their powers. Even better. Alright, so then Preston uses his magic once again to make the cage go away or throw it off of them. No? Oh, alright, so the cage was made for monsters, so the bars are, pretty widely spaced. So the slim and tiny Sarah kind of slips through going sideways and... What, no? Okay, so Calvin's powers have kind of sort of been associated with the power of the earth, so he uses a special ninja technique to disappear into the dirt and... Okay, no? Oh, alright, fine. The Rangers just stand there in the cage, powerless to do anything. Odious tosses a piece of the super steel into the prism and uses her dark magic to revive it and just do, it's gonna do something. It's gonna, something evil, folks, whatever happens. Evil power stars, sure, Brody, whatever. This is actually way further than the show would have actually gone, but I would have loved to have seen this completely work and have the prism spit out an evil power star for Odious that would have allowed her to become an evil Ninja Steel Power Ranger. But alas, as Odious uses magic to create evil ninja stars, Brody exclaims that Odious is using magic to create evil ninja stars. Okay, look, this is a problem that I actually saw pointed out by Japanime. Watch his channel if you don't. Very good. Power Rangers content, Toku, etc., etc. Show and tell. We don't need Preston to tell us that Odious blocked the cage with magic. We can see that. We don't need Brody to tell us that Odious is using magic to create evil ninja stars. We can see that. It just feels like another one of those things where the creators of the show are assuming that their audience is stupid and can't understand the plot based on visual cues. Heck, as a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure Odious said exactly what she was going to do, and apparently it still needed explaining by a Ranger. Maybe Odious cast confusion on the Rangers. It's very effective, because it suddenly wears off and they just all of a sudden realize that they have a magician in their group. The one who created the cage that they're standing in. Preston uses another magic spell to bend up the bars of the cage. That's spell 35. And they run out and attack. Attacking Badana, she drops the super steel, and the Rangers have actually learned since their fight with Galvanax last time, as this time they grab the mystical MacGuffin, and Haley puts the steel back into the case, and Preston kind of magic tosses it over to Mick. Odious says, well, she's still got this piece and orders the monsters to defend her while she finishes the spell. We get a really nice, but honestly kind of short, unmorphed fight, and I kind of noticed in this case that those ninja suits actually allow for the increased use of stunties, so pretty nice there. Brody has the super intelligent ninja idea of flipping over the monsters and kicks Madame Odious, which apparently somehow breaks her spell. The Prism spits out the grape Listerine and now has a big old chunk of super steel that it can do whatever it wants with. Except that, well, we have another season to get to here, and this show is called Power Rangers, so the Prism spits out brand new Power Stars for the Rangers, as well as Element Stars, and gives Brody back the Lionfire Armor and Zord Stars. Now, that's 14 stars out of this one big piece of Super Ninja Steel, and since there are 4 pieces in total, I'm estimating that they can get anywhere from about 56 to 60 stars out of it. Now, that does seem like a lot, but actually it feels like that's cutting it kind of close. Multiple sets of Zord stars, you've got Mega Morph Cycle stars, and etc., etc., etc. Are we headed right back down the road of another "we're running out of steel" melodrama at the end of the season? For the first morph of this brand new season, we actually get a really nice line pan down the way as each of the Rangers places their star in their morpher. And then we cut to the 6-way canned morph. It would have been nice to have them at least do the ninja spin part on set, and you know, individual morphs for each Ranger would be nice. So the Rangers get to fighting Smellephant, and of course, the primary ability for a monster based on an elephant whose name is Smellephant is I-beams. Sure. Brody says that they'll show this monster why they always lose, because we fight as a team. I almost considered this a moral of the day, but it's kind of really tropey to Power Rangers, so I'm going to let it slide. Brody goes Lionfire and does his finisher. Levi does a Star Morph. The other Rangers use Whiplash, and the monster's destroyed. Cosmo, who is all of a sudden speaking to a full Galaxy Warriors crowd again. Have they had that much time to get to Earth? Maybe they're holograms, I don't know. Makes a pun and then grows the monster. And it just feels like... I can't really tell you whether I consider this more a good thing or a bad thing, but it just feels like nothing has changed. Everything just picked up, same as it did last season. Brody summons the Lionfire Megazord. This, again, elephant monster tries to use I-beams to freeze the Megazord, because you know we've never had an elephant monster that did anything else, or even an elephant-based Zord that did anything else in order to freeze something. However, Brody turns his Megazord's top section around, and the beams bounce around in its back and bounce back and freeze the monster instead. Gotta hate that double freeze backfire. It's like Mortal Kombat up in here. And then Brody finishes the monster off. From summoning his Zord to the monster exploding is all of 43 seconds, not even a full minute. Villains wrap up. Odious settles in and realizing that taking over the universe is going to take some time. That's it. The Rangers place the Prism back in the base, which is kind of a dick move on the Prism's part since it's revived and, you know, it can fly and everything. Mick tells the Rangers that he will stay with them until the battle is finally over. Redbot is funny because he doesn't understand human sayings. Ninja Steel, it's like you never left us. Oh, but it wouldn't be Ninja Steel without the Victor and Monty comedy wrap-up. Excuse me, I have to go get my eyes. I think they just rolled out of my head. An angry mob chases the two back to the school, demanding refunds for the repellent. However, the two of them had spent at least some of that money, obviously, and after issuing $10 million in refunds, the two of them are broke. Principal Hastings catches them and points out that their giant check bounced. Although it probably would have been better to not try to cash the giant check, which is usually ceremonial. The two of them say that they're broke and beg her to reaccept them to the high school. Valuing education, even for these two, she gives them schedules that had already been prepared for them. To be honest, they were probably prepared before the two of them even dropped out, but hey. Anyway, as the two of them celebrate having a place to actually go again, Monty's can of repellent breaks and fills the room with fart gas. Monty says he can even taste it. Maybe that focus group was made up of 5-year-olds. Now it's time to throw some stars made of ninja steel. Episode 1, Echoes of Evil. Pros, Sledge and the Dimension Hopping. The Rangers are ninjas, and 2 female villains. Cons, a very rushed debut, a confused mixture of simplicity and complication, and VictCon and Conti. There was stuff I really liked, but overall, still a disappointing debut. Echoes of Evil gets 2.5 stars out of 5. So this time we start the season with the impact of a sledgehammer. And yes, this time I do know that I've made that joke already, I just don't care. This has the potential of fixing a major plot hole and answering a pretty significant fan question: Dino Charge's place in the overall Power Rangers continuity. Now, it does not answer all the questions because, as I've said and articulated many times, my questions about Ninja Steel still make me wonder where it places in the continuity, but it is a start. And by the way, it at least sounded like all of the voice actors for the villains came back for this, and they performed just as well as they did before. You know that I love it when these Rangers that are supposedly ninjas actually act like ninjas. And while Preston hiding behind a newspaper, dressed head to toe in ninja gear, was a little bit weird, I really liked Calvin and the way he was perched in that tree, and the Rangers were really just acting like ninjas, especially when they didn't have other powers that they could rely on. I did also think that it was a nice touch that they were willing to fight without their Ranger powers, though I still do think that Brody luring Odious out for a fight without their powers was stupid. And for a show that is so focused on boys, we have, going into this season, not just a female main villain, but her main general is also female. Odious faced down Sledge, a major main male villain, and got him to back down. We don't really know much about Badana yet, but she already seems to be intelligent and capable. Kudos to the show for not just replacing a male villain with another male villain. But all of this just felt incredibly rushed in this episode. You know, Ninja Steel, the first season, didn't really have anything you would call a two-part episode, at least not me. Just some two-episode story arcs that were very loosely connected by a little cliffhanger right in between them. And that trend seems to be continuing here. We just get all of this stuff just crammed into this episode. Sledge, the Warrior Dome's return, Mick coming back, the Rangers fighting Odious, the Zord fight, and Victor and Monty's stupid farts plot all crammed into less than 30 minutes. The Unmorphed fight and the Zord fight were criminally short. Why could you not have stretched this into a two-part premiere? Are we really going to need this meaningless moral of the day filler that we know is coming? I'm starting to get really curious as to what intelligence level the writing staff thinks their audience is at, because we got a weird kit bash of that today. At one point in the episode, we have a version of Sledge from before he was destroyed crossing over dimensions through a wormhole. That's kind of complicated sci-fi type stuff, like I said at the beginning of the episode. At another point, you have Madame Odious freezing a cage over her head with magic, something that we very clearly see on screen, and yet it has to be announced by Preston that she has frozen the cage with magic. It was just a really weird mixture of complex plot elements and overly simplified writing. And yes, VictCon and Conti. You know, I actually recently rewatched one of my early Ninja Steel reviews, and in it I said that Victor and Monty were the only good part of the episode. And a rare miss from Victor and Monty. The Victor and Monty stuff was just not good this week. The two of them have felt somewhat like Bulk and Skull in their comic relief, but also having that undercurrent of heroism and wanting to help and be good people. But all of that crumbled away this week. When I heard myself say that, I nearly threw up in my mouth. I just have so much trouble imagining that line of thinking now. Victor and Monty these days have been by far the worst part of the episodes. Their subplot this week just didn't add anything to the overall plot, besides providing the statue that the Rangers hid the prism in. And considering the fact that they were in a park, that could have been any statue. And you know the really sad thing? I bet you the writers thought this was clever. I bet that they were just thrilled with the idea that there was a connecting element from the finale of last season to the start of this one. But that element is not something that anybody with 2 digits in their age wanted or cared about. I am just so tired of these two and their stupid, idiotic, slapstick, juvenile humor. And you know what? I hold absolutely nothing against their actors, Chris Reed and Caleb Bendit. They are performing, just like the Ranger actors, the scripts that they were given. That was their job. And you know, in looking up the actors' names, I actually found an interview that hashtag show did with Peter Sudarso, where he said that Victor and Monty actually have a satisfying wrap-up in Super Ninja Steel, and their plots become more about interacting with the Rangers and less having their own comedic B-plots off to the side. I sure as heck hope so, because that is absolutely what this episode was. It's hard for me to say that I'm disappointed, because my hopes were not all that high to begin with. Pessimists have a saying, and this was something that my grandmother actually said, that their way of thinking is better because when things are good, you're pleasantly surprised. And that's where I'm at with Super Ninja, Super Steel, Superman, Super. I am sure that this season is going to have at least a few good episodes. Hopefully, and especially the anniversary episode. But when that happens, it will be a surprise, because the height of my expectations at this point for Super Ninja, Super Steel, Supergirl, Soup, or Salad is mediocrity. But hey, at least this episode was a Power Rangers plot, right? And didn't have any of that cheesy moral of the day nonsense, besides the standard Rangers trope of teamwork, am I right? Alrighty, with that out of the way, let's take a little peek at the second episode of Super Ninja Steel, Moment of Truth. When Calvin forgets his and Haley's anniversary, he panics and ends up spinning a web of lies to cover up his mistake. This is going to be a long season, isn't it? That's going to do it for the first Power Rangers Super Ninja Steel episode review. Thank you folks so much as always for watching. And yes, those off-season hiatus videos are still coming, and please don't worry, I am still reviewing Hyperforce. Make sure to like the video by clicking the like button right down below. In the comments below, let me know what you thought of the premiere of Power Rangers Super Ninja Steel and of my review of it. You can subscribe to the channel to see all of my videos, and make sure you ring that bell and get your notifications set up so you can get notified of whenever I post brand new videos just like this Power Rangers Super Ninja Steel episode review. And though it is absolutely not necessary, if you would like to toss a little bit of financial support to my channel, it's something that I would greatly appreciate. You can head over to digitaltipjar.com/orangerangervid, VID, and toss me a little tip, a little financial support, and I would be grateful for anything that you throw into that tip jar of mine. Until next time, heroes, may the power protect you. After a long off season of realizing just how much better of a show you heroes might remember that last year I said that last season. Now this is at least a step. Towards establishing Dino Charge's places in the Victor and Grandma drag sort of way. Academy of Excellentarianism. That demonstrates that Galaxy Warriors is coming back. And he could smell this across. That's frustrating. The Rangers realize that Odious doesn't know that the Ninja Nexus Prism is broken, basically dead. Either of those is a possibility. So, Preston creates a magical cage. Hey, that's spelled 27 in his book. And the Rangers move to attack. Preston creates a magical cage. Hey, that's spelled 27 in his book. And the Rangers... You know, if that nail had been right behind my head, that would have been painful. You know what they say, a bee in the hand is like ow. As Odious uses evil magic to create, they attack Banana and she drops the super farts. Gosh, I didn't mean to say farts. Oh, but it wouldn't be Ninja Steel without the Victor and Monty comedy backup roll up fart up. And it really is a fart up, so that's okay to say. Now it's time to throw some stars made of Ninja Steel. Actually, yeah. So. And this time, yes, I know I made that joke already. I just don't care. We get all of this stuff, you know, yeah. All right, let me start that take there, so. But I mean, hey, at least this was a Power Rangers plot, right? And didn't feature one of those silly moral of the day. I've got to stop soon. Okay, let's take a look at the second episode of Super Ninja Steel. Let's take a peek. So. Alrighty, with that fart. Make sure to like the video by clicking that like button right down below. In the comments below, let me know what you thought of this episode and of my review of it. It's been so long since I did, well, Hyperboard.